Welcome to Pieces for My Puzzle. I am your host, Nikki Shipp, and I'm excited to be sharing with you my life with a son on the spectrum. This podcast is for anyone who is looking for quick tips and perspective, but most of all, for hope and inspiration. So sit back, relax, and let's put the pieces together. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Pieces for My Puzzle. I am your puzzle master, Nikki Shipp. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's great to have you back listening on the show. If you tuned in last week, you'll know that we spoke about the benefits of using visuals to keep your child on a schedule. We talked about maybe using a calendar system or having some sort of organization to that. This week, we're going to talk about finding joy in your everyday life, especially when you're trying to run a household and also deal with therapies and all sorts of different things that you might encounter when you have a child on the spectrum. So it's no secret, right, that life is stressful in general. We have to wear many hats, especially as a parent, and we have a lot of things going on. And it can become even more stressful sometimes when you have a child on the spectrum. I'm going to just tell you guys a little bit about my story when I first started down this journey and I realized that Drayson was autistic. I had a really hard time, and I found that I was upset quite a bit. I was moody. I really was kind of in a negative headspace, and it wasn't a good place for me to be in. If you look or run a search on any search engine like Google about autism, you see a lot of terms that jump out at you like serious disorder or disabled or impaired or significant challenges. And when you start reading up on autism, trying to learn about it, a lot of that verbiage can be very negative. And it's very, very difficult to get into a positive headspace. I finally came across an article. It was buried kind of obscurely. I was probably going down some rabbit hole, of articles, and I found an article that was written, and I can't even remember who wrote it, but they were saying that autism should not be considered an illness, but rather a different way of thinking. That kids or people with autism are wired differently. They just think differently. And I had a little bit of a light bulb moment, and it caught me at an opportune time to make me realize that I had to not only shift my mindset about how I was looking at autism, but that I realized that I had a choice on how to view it. And I desperately wanted to have a connection with my son, Drayson. So in that moment, I realized that if I didn't choose to look at autism differently, that I may be forfeiting or may not have a chance of having that connection with my son. With that being said, I guess my point to telling you the story is that I challenge those of you parents out there that have kids on the spectrum. I challenge you to take an inventory. I challenge you to take an inventory of things that they do every day that you find joy in or that you find joy with. And it could be something really simple. I would be happy if Drayson would just say hello to me or sit next to me or near me for 5 minutes. That's a big win in our house. And so I started taking inventory of things that he was doing every day and of things that he could do every day, and started focusing on the things that he could do and not necessarily the things that he couldn't do. I even got out a pen and paper and started to make a list. So make a list of things that your child is good at. Make a list of things that you're noticing that they're doing that maybe they didn't do the day before. Some of Drayson's biggest attributes is that he pays attention to detail. His brutal honesty, sometimes more honest than I would care for, but he is brutally honest, and I do, deep down, really do appreciate that. His knowledge and focus on areas of interest, the things that interest him the most, he has such a great level of passion and focus for. and communicating his needs. This was something that he couldn't do when he was first diagnosed or when he was younger, but now he's able to start communicating his needs more, and that's a really big win for us in our household. So a lot of times when I start to feel upset or have those moments, because I do, I take inventory. I take inventory so that I can find those little joys in everyday life. And even with myself, right? Sometimes we have to take inventory on ourselves. Like, I'm excited that I just, I got up and I got ready and I was able to go to work today, or I had a successful meeting, or, all the little things that sometimes seem daunting on a day-to-day basis. Those little tasks, I think we need to sometimes shift our perspective and find joy in those things. When I began to see improvement in his behaviors through his therapies, and when I was taking inventory of those things that I noticed that he was able to start doing, I realized that I was getting excited. I was starting to then become more invested in wanting to help him further within his therapies, wanting to participate more, wanting to help correct those things so that he could be successful. But it's almost like working out, right? You start working out and you start feeling really good, and then you get into the rhythm and the habit of going. All of a sudden you realize you don't want to necessarily forfeit going to the gym or forfeit certain things because they feel good. And that's how I started to view this whole situation with Drayson. So again, focus on what your child can accomplish and not necessarily on what your child can't do. I guess my question to you is then, are you a glass half empty or a glass half full person? And your mindset can make all the difference in how you view your child and what they're capable of doing. And it's really up to you. It's really up to you to shift that mindset and also to portray that energy, because believe it or not, our kids do feed off of our energy. At the end of every episode, we want to do a story highlight or maybe pose a question. So today I thought I would ask a question to all of you, and hopefully you'll feel compelled to write in the show with your answer. If so, go ahead and send us an email at info@piecesformypuzzle.com, and I would love to hear your response. And my question to you is, what do you embrace as the little things in your household? What do you find joy on a daily basis with your child on the spectrum? And what is your child doing now that they couldn't do 6 months or even a year ago? Because that's something to celebrate. I would love to hear those answers, and of course, we'll read the responses. And if we want to feature your answer on the show, we'll go ahead and send you a little gift as well as a thank you for participating. And that's it for today, short and sweet. But please like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram, or subscribe to our YouTube channel if you watch us on YouTube at Pieces for My Puzzle. If you like what you're hearing, please spread the word to others so that we can help and encourage and support those in the autism community. And feel free to give us a good rating on your preferred podcast platform of choice. Until next time, keep working on your puzzle, and remember, you don't have to have it solved in a day. Take care.